A few weeks ago, I released a review comparing the newly announced Samyang 35-150mm against the Tamron 35-150mm, and I may have up slightly. A number of you have commented to say that you noticed a discrepancy between my own test results and images taken with your own copies of the Tamron 35-150mm. Specifically, this part of the video where I shot around the 100mm end of the zoom and found that the Tamron created noticeably blurred edges compared to the Samyang. Well, since then I've spoken with Tamron and they also agreed that this didn't seem quite right, so they passed the lens onto their European HQ in Germany, and after a further inspection they confirmed that the lens indeed was damaged. I've included Tamron's full official statement in the comments below for anyone who might be interested. Anyway, how did this lens get damaged? Well, that's really anyone's guess, though we do suspect that it was likely dropped in transit between Tamron and myself. Now, I do accept some of the responsibility here because I probably should have picked up on this issue sooner. Though in my defense, I had been testing the lens all week and I had absolutely no reason to suspect the lens was faulty. There was no physical signs of damage on the lens or the box when it arrived. The AF worked absolutely fine through testing. The test chart results looked good. The test images all looked good. The only reason that this was ever picked up is because at the last minute I wanted to double check the chromatic aberration performance of these lenses on something other than test chart. So I quickly went outside, took a few images of a big old tree that's across the way from the studio, and immediately noticed the blurriness when I reviewed the images afterwards. Now, I should mention that this was the day before the video was due to go live, and I felt that I couldn't rightfully leave it out of the video because it seemed fairly significant. I also couldn't go back to Tamron because, as a rule, I don't really consult with lens manufacturers on my findings until a video is published, as I'm always really conscious of trying to keep the test as fair as possible and avoid a situation where the video could be manipulated by an outside source in any way possible. Anyway, Tamron kindly sent me another loan copy of their lens to retest, and as expected, this new lens does not display this corner blur issue like the old faulty one did, and now offers comparable levels of sharpness to the Samyang lens results. I also retook the lens chart images using the new lens to see whether it offered a noticeable improvement. At the 35mm end wide open, there wasn't a great deal of difference from before, and it's maybe just a touch sharper at the center, but certainly nothing to shout about at the corners. At the 150mm end, again, there was a slight improvement over the faulty lens, both at the center and at the corners, but again, not a huge amount to shout about. So how does this new lens compare to the Samyang results? Well, honestly, these lenses are still pretty much neck and neck in terms of sharpness, both at the 35mm end and at the 150mm end. Now, I know what you're all thinking, what does this mean for the scoring on the original test? Because surely now that the blurred edges aren't a thing, this must impact the scoring, right? And yes, you would be right in saying that. In the original review, I gave the Tamron just half a point for image quality, mainly due to it having the soft corner issues and also due to it having stronger chromatic aberrations. Without the blur issue, I think the gap between these two lenses has narrowed enough to award both lenses with a full point for image quality. Even with the full point in this round, in my opinion, the Samyang still gets the overall win because at the time of testing at least, it's still significantly cheaper than the Tamron whilst providing comparable results in all areas of testing. I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who went out of their way to test their own Tamron lenses and flag this issue to me, because ultimately I want to make sure that these videos are as honest, open and accurate as possible, so having you guys backing me up is always hugely appreciated. Okay, bye.